From the former convent of the Good Shepherd overlooking Inwood Hill Park in New York City, welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where you meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and this is Live and Local. It's our podcast dedicated to showcasing the musicians of Manhattan. We talk to them about what they do, and best of all, listen to them perform live in one of our favorite local venues. Today, we are excited to speak with musician Tony Davis. Tony is an internationally renowned guitarist and composer based here in Inwood, New York City. He regularly performs in the city's top venues such as the Blue Note, Birdland, Smalls, and Mesro. He has played the Newport Jazz Festival and currently leads several projects. He has most recently toured internationally, playing at Mexico City's Zinco, Jazz Alatan, Parker and Lennox, and Casafranca. In 2019, Davis was signed by the Positone record label and released his debut album, Golden Year, which features an all-star lineup of some of modern day's most acclaimed jazz musicians, such as Desron Douglas, Eric McPherson, and Steve Wilson. Since then, he has signed with La Reserve Records for his co-led album with vocalist Jamil, Daring to Be, released in 2022. We're thrilled to have him play for you live today, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Davis.
All my life I've been a traveling man. Take a look behind me and you can see from where I fled. But with you it's so precious, I don't see why it should end. And if now is just never, the dust of love descends yet again. So I can try the best that I can. Yes, the very best that I can. For once I hope to push the doubt aside and let me be alive. People see me floating gently through the breeze, but there's mountains crashing. I'm trapped inside the space between. Then you brought me safety. The tears were freed and so was I. So how did we get here, with love so real yet no one's by my side? Where did you go? So I can try the best that I can. Yes, the very best that I can. To see if I can just let it go of control. the pillow. No, your words can't reach me. Inside this ill fate, living to please, please. Oh, this broken puzzle. No, it never fit me. The seeds were planted. You pushed them down, down, down. And hours on the phone, but have you heard me speak? And everything in line with your fantasy. I wish you'd trust in who you see. I could be free, and it's a shame you couldn't be there to understand me, forcing me to leave. Time has no spare time. It left us stranded, and you know I'm sorry, but I will be who I will be. Watching life go by, locked inside a cage. And trust the voice inside, and trust what you create. Watching life go by, locked inside a cage. And trust the voice inside, and trust what you create. On the phone, but have you heard me speak? And everything in line with your fantasy. I wish you'd trust in who you see. I could be free, and it's a shame you couldn't be there to understand me, forcing me to leave. Time has no spare time. It left us stranded, and you know I'm sorry, but I will be who I will be. Watching life go by, locked inside a cage. Trust the voice inside, and trust what you create. Whoa, whoa. Watching life go by, locked inside a cage. Trust the voice inside, and trust what you create. Watching life go by, locked inside a cage. Trust the voice inside. what you create.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you for bringing your guitar and
Thank you.
improvising for us here and making things happen. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yeah. So, you know, boy, you know, your influences seem to be quite all over the place in the most positive, wonderful way. You hear samba, you hear Latin jazz, you hear bossa nova, blues, you hear rock, you hear a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, you sound really good in this room for some reason. It's not our fault. It's all you. And, you know, it seems like a lot of positive energy, mixing those forms with your own, making it your own voice. It's some really great tunes, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're right. I do have a lot of influences. When people ask me, you know, who is your biggest inspiration? Who do you check out the most? That's never an easy question for me to answer because, like books, I don't just like 3 books. I like to read lots of different types of books. And with music, it's a never-ending discovery. So I'm always searching and learning from new artists, new and old artists, and constantly finding things that seem to be making their way in my own voice, I guess.
Well, tell us about what did we just hear, the 2 songs we just heard.
Yeah, so the first song I played was, these were all originals, of course, a song called Blind Break. And yeah, this one's a good example of a mashup of influences. It was originally inspired by one of my favorite blues guitarists named Blind Blake. And he's an incredible fingerstyle guitar player, blues, and singer. And there's a song called Police Dog Blues by him that I really love, that I kind of first got the idea for the song from, but then it ended up turning into something completely different. If you listen to his version, you're not going to hear much of a resemblance. But it's a song about being lost in emotional turmoil or when things get heated up and trying to keep cool during those moments and not just act so quickly, and, you know, the art of keeping your calm and your zen during some stressful times, and
but doing the best you can, right?
And
which is
that's all we can do,
and that's what you
right.
keep recalling yourself throughout the lyrics of that song, right?
That's right. And a lot of my music is sort of diary-like in that way of trying to help me overcome different life hurdles and reminding myself of these things, you know, and hopefully others.
Yeah, but it also seems like also a very positive song.
Yeah. I would say, as sad as some of my songs, this one was a happier sounding song, but even my most sad sounding songs always have a voice of optimism in there. And because that's what music is for me. It's optimism, it's hope. It gives me purpose and it helps me keep going, you know? So I think quite naturally, all of my songs have an optimistic energy to them.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. How about the second one?
Yeah, and so the second one was called The Escape, and that one is about sort of transcending internal barriers, like trying to just let go, free yourself up to really express yourself, which is easier said than done, especially for myself. And this is a song that's, again, a reminder to myself to really, the words are, trust the voice inside, you know, trust what you create, watching life go by locked inside a cage. I don't want to live my life like that. Because life is so fragile and it's going by so quickly. So I want to get the most out of it and open myself up as much as I can and escape that cage inside.
Yeah. And then owning that, right? Mm-hmm. The lyrics, I will be what I will be.
Right.
So it's like you just own it.
That's right. Ideally. I'm trying.
There's the hopefulness and the optimism, right?
I'm trying every day, a little baby step by step. But
you're
yeah,
like your own life coach.
That's right. Yeah, I guess it's like a conversation with a higher self or something like that.
That's really cool, though. I mean, I think that's, and you said working it out through music.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Best therapy you can buy, I guess.
I would say so. One of them.
I think so too.
Yeah, yeah.
The songs are great, and also too, which is refreshing because I only know you through your music online, and you know, it's always been somebody else singing your music. And so it was great hearing your voice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that was really cool.
Well, this is kind of these new songs and these messages that they're conveying, and then me singing is all kind of a new project within the past couple of years, really the past year or so, of really trying to trust the voice, trust what's coming out, and what's coming out is I want to write lyrics and I want to sing these songs, and so right now a lot of the music you'll find online is more straight ahead jazz or me collaborating with other vocalists, which I'm very proud of and will continue to do. But I'm working on releasing this new project within a year or so.
Oh, cool.
That I think is a little bit more of an accurate representation of where I'm kind of at right now.
Well, I think it's great. I love the sound I was hearing fresh here. And so, folks, maybe you're hearing the first recordings ever of these songs. I don't know.
Sneak peek, yeah.
But so world premieres here. How about that? We didn't even know it. But it's interesting though. Like your sound as a guitarist, I feel is very much what we hear. But I will even say a little more relaxed than the stuff I've heard you collaborating with today.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think there's also an element to when it's just you and the guitar, there's an intimacy that happens that might also create a relaxed feeling. But I'm glad that you heard that. I'm trying to be relaxed. Sometimes that's not so easy.
No.
All the time, that's not easy.
No, I hear you. Well, since we kind of talked, I brought it up, and we'll definitely talk more about your music. But congrats, because like the last collaboration you did just came out like this summer, right? Daring to Be.
That's right. Yeah.
TWOB, folks. If you didn't know that, see what he did there. It's just him and another person. And it's with Jamil, and it's great. I mean, here's my tiny review because I like to share, and you can totally tell me I'm totally off because I'm a big boy and I can take it. I turn on. I just love I love the stripped down delivery of the whole thing, and it's just the voice and guitar accompaniment for those of you who haven't heard. But yes, there is horns. I think on. Is it the Dr. Feelgood track, whatever it is? Yeah,
that one,
so
and one other track. Yeah.
He's great, and it's mixed really well, and the mix is like has the sparseness to it. You feel like you transported your own private jazz club with your headphones on, and the songs really breathe and like this. It's like a sparse bluesy samba tinged like Gershwin tunes that are like sung by like a Brazilian Judy Garland. I mean, that's
a beautiful interpretation of it. Yeah.
Well, thanks, but it's just me. But I could just sit and listen to it and have the it's one of those things that you'll work, and I like to have music on the background too. But I have it on, and then she has a nice smokiness and also a nice you can tell that she can bring in some real strength too, and her vocals when she wants to, which is I thought pretty awesome. And your consistent playing, it was a really nice pairing, and so you should be proud of that. Really cool stuff.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, me and Jamelia, we have a very deep history together, and actually the horn player who played on a couple tracks, that's Steve Wilson, who you mentioned in my bio. And he's kind of been a connecting thread for us because he was both of our teacher and mentor in life, but at the City College of New York where we met, Jamelia and I met when we were getting our masters in music. So that collaboration goes back a ways, and it really kind of started because of the pandemic though, because we started making collaboration videos and developing a repertoire, and then next thing I knew, we were making a record.
Now, did you write together? Because obviously we heard your songs. Like, did you write together as far as like both music and lyrics together, or did you divide it up, or is it all you?
Well, the thing about this record is that none of the songs are originals. Actually, they're all original arrangements or interpretations.
Right. That's what, that's what I was kind of getting at.
So the lyrics were already set, but yeah, we spent a lot of time, either rehearsing, or we played a lot of gigs together too regularly, so we could try this stuff out and coming up with our arrangements that worked and different dynamics, and just trying to make sure we were doing justice to the stories that were being told. And but the whole process right up until the recording and to this day has been very organic. There's very little like reading music. It's just we have a very good chemistry together, and we were kind of able to bounce ideas off of each other very easily, and it blossomed naturally that way.
Cool. It's yeah. Those of you who haven't checked it out, it's on Spotify or wherever you get your music. It's really, really solid, and I think people really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. It's very different than your Golden Year album.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is kind of more of a traditional, straight up. You think of like a jazz album.
Yeah.
And you have your players and it goes out there. And yes, your guitar playing is in the forefront, I'll say, in a lot of it, which is great. But and you can hear the passages of different genres and melodies, but I still but even all three talked about your new music, that album and duo album, you can still hear the different styles that we talked about earlier and your solo stuff, I think, too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to let it all pass through.
Yeah, well, and also too is like there's English and Spanish language tunes in all of them as well, so that's right. Pretty cool, right? How important is that to you?
Too. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's definitely important to me in the sense that Brazilian music, Spanish music, Cuban music, boleros, like that's such a huge influence to me. I love that style, those styles of music, and they definitely influence my original music now in terms of harmony and melody and even in rhythmic ways. But yeah, I guess this whole idea of all these different genres is just the natural occurrence of like, you have things you like, you have things you don't, or you have things that resonate with you and that you learn from more than others. And then at a certain point, those influences are now what is me.
Well, you've mentioned a variety of influences, and it is you. And you mentioned so many different styles to articulate your voice. So for this next album, as you continue to develop it into what this is for you actually singing your own tunes, what collaborators are you going to bring in to help you this time around? Or are you going to do a solo record with you and a guitar?
No, it's gonna have a lot going on. There might be a few songs that are solo, but yeah, I have a lot of great musicians that I'm so fortunate to be able to call my friends and to trust my music with and work on with. So I'm still conceptualizing day by day, but there's going to be some great jazz musicians on it still, but the sound might be more, it'll be rooted in jazz, of course, but a little bit more of like a folk rock element and some Latin influence still as well.
This will be on a new label or one of the other labels you've worked with in the past?
I think it'll be with La Reserve still. Okay. Yeah. So
all right,
I'm very fortunate to be working with them.
So keep your eyes out on the Tony Davis channel or wherever you're at. Well, this podcast has kind of always felt like has an educational aspect to it, and we could spend hours just like shooting back, talking about influences and technique and stuff like that, and gear and stuff. Which is fine. Happy to do it too. But I would also say you're also a son of musicians, right? And so, which could be great, but also doesn't mean that you have the same musical direction or follow the same path, or them wanting you to follow the same path as they did. Find your own voice, but it must be nice to have a little bit of a sounding board at times about, particularly working in the actual music business. And so, just been curious if you have anything that they've shared with you that you felt have relevant to your life now that you can also share to people like yourself trying to make it in the biz right now, collaborating and putting yourselves out there with new music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I realize more and more as I get older and as I create or carve my own path and my own career, because growing up it was kind of always just what mom and dad did and I didn't think about it, but now they actively were teaching me lessons about how to being a freelance musician can be very brutal sometimes and very demanding. And One quote that always resonates with me that my dad would tell me, it's not his quote, but it was always something that I hold on to dearly, is that if you take care of the music, it'll take care of you. In the sense that, take pride in what you do, take it seriously, be on time, be reliable, be passionate, have fun, all seemingly very obvious things, but it can be easy to get lost in the stress and, you know, the pursuit of trying to create your own career as an independent artist can be very stressful. So I hold on to that. Like, if I just really give music the dedication and love that I know I have for it and that I'm capable of, it will be reciprocated. And it is. I see it. Sometimes it's harder to see than others when you're down here, but that makes these up here moments that much better when you realize that it's all worth it. And yeah, they just seeing their careers. My mom ended up teaching a lot more, but my dad teaches a lot as well too. Teaching is always a great opportunity also for musicians to earn a living. And yeah, just by demonstration really, and seeing their careers and how they handle themselves has been more than enough for me to learn from and be influenced by, aside from the things that they would actively tell me, So
Right.
I'm very thankful.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that, because
Yeah.
I think it's helpful to hear people what they've been through, and this podcast, like I said, has some like this kind of just, everyone always who listens to this podcast come up to me and they say like, "Well, I learned something about that," and I know, and some people are. I feel like people want to champion people. They want people to do well.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So, speaking of sharing, you have another song you want to share with us, right? So, what are we going to hear?
That's right. So this is a brand new song that I just wrote like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
But it came very organically, as most of my favorite songs do. I feel like they come when I'm very open to letting them pass through me and I'm not trying to do anything. But this is a song that's just simply called Goodbye for now. And it's about the frustration I was having. I recently lost 2 family members, and the frustration with how fleeting things can be sometimes, how we, especially in today's world with Instagram and everything is so fast paced, and I find myself struggling to really sink into the moment sometimes. And am I really feeling the full depth of what's happening?
Yeah.
And so, it's as dark as it is, going to a wake of a family member, or, things just sort of move on so quickly. And this song is sort of, again, another reminder to myself, like, no, like, I want to really feel this. I don't want to just go on with my day because I think my life is so important and I have to do X, Y, and Z today. We always have to do X, Y, and Z. That's never going to end. So this song is just like, just drop it. And I want to really be here for them because they were there for me, and I want to really feel that, So it's a very special song for me in that way. Yeah.
Takes discipline, right?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's hard to just be, So.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Once again, Tony Davis.
Drifting like the falling leaves, family, blank faces lost in grief, and tell me, when will it reach the core, that feeling we've kept from feeling more. Ooh, fragile doors. Ooh, as if life is ours, asking myself why hide now. Oh, won't you sink into my skin? Don't move on. Oh, take my heart and let it bleed, let it bleed, let it bleed. Holding on to parted hands, frozen, can't seem to understand, and fleeting glimpses of the truth. Look up before you lose them too. They are falling leaves. Ooh, let them fall on me. Finding myself reaching out. Oh, won't you sink into my skin? Slow me down. Oh, one last genuine goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Ooh, goodbye. Ooh, goodbye. Ooh.
Very cool tune. Very good meditation on grief, and like you said, being present for it and being open to receive it. You know,
Thank
very
you.
cool.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Well, Tony, it's been a pleasure speaking with you and hearing your world premiere songs here on our show. Before we say goodbye, where can people go to find out more about your work and hear you play?
Of course. Got to do the plugins.
Yeah.
Well, as you mentioned, the music that I do have out already is on Spotify and Tidal and Apple Music and any streaming service or YouTube. And then on Instagram is where you can keep up with me the best in terms of I'm playing all the time, all my performances and news about upcoming music. So that is at Tony Davis Music, Tony, not like Toni Morrison, but Tony Davis Music with a Y. And also, if you just Google Tony Davis Music, that's the name of my YouTube channel. My website is tonydavismusic.com. Where else can you find me? You can find me all over New York City and the world, sometimes playing, and I would love to see you guys at a show. And yeah, thank you.
And now you can find them at Inwood Artworks on air.
That's right.
So
That's
here we
right.
are. Very good. Well, listeners, you can find some of those links in the description of this episode, so we'll make it easy for them, all right? Because that's what we do. We try to be a platform. We use art as a platform to bring people together, and we hope people can find your music and go out and support you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you for the
thanks,
opportunity.
Tony. My pleasure. So, once again, Tony Davis here on this live and local episode of Inwood Artworks on Air. It's where I meet the musicians, writers, theater makers, artists of all stripes who make their home here in Upper Manhattan. If you have a moment right now, please show us some love and rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. That really does help. Many thanks to the Church of the Good Shepherd here in Inwood, New York City, as well as Heightsites.com for Uptown promotional support. You can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate and via Venmo. Be sure to follow us on social media at Inwood Artworks to keep up all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Al Fresco, live performances, and who knows, maybe one featuring Tony Davis sometime soon, and also pop-up art galleries. Inwood Artworks On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Artworks On Air.